Today, I'm gonna show you how to do spätzle the very old-fashioned way, like my grandmother used to make them, uh, pushed off of a spätzle bread. We call that a wood piece with a spatula. So to start the recipe, please take a pot, your pasta boiling pot. Start with hot water from the faucet and put it on your stove. Bring it to a boil. Put nice amount of salt in, about the same as boiling pasta. Just the same idea. So to make the recipe, the ingredients that we have is flour. I have sour cream. I always put sour cream inside my spätzle, and I'm gonna explain a little bit why later. Here I have 3 eggs. We're gonna use 2 whole eggs and 1 yolk. I have salt, I have peppermill, I have water, and I have nutmeg. In Alsatian cooking, there is a lot of, it's kind of like almost the to-go spice in the area. So we kind of like use it a lot in our stews, in our doughs, in our pastas and all that stuff. So let's get started. I'm gonna start by mixing the flour. So I have 2 cups of flour here. So I usually do the dough always by hand, unless I do a lot of dough. It's fun to do it by hand. It's a little bit work. The other idea, if you do more than what we do today, it's a good idea is to use a KitchenAid or something like that, or a food processor. So I'm gonna do it by hand. I have the flour in my bowl. I'm gonna add a tablespoon of salt, or 2 pinches basically, and then I'm gonna add pepper. So I'm gonna add the pepper in here a little bit. And then I'm gonna add a little bit nutmeg. So I have the nutmeg here. I have a microplane, and I'm just gonna go with about 10, 12 gradings. We don't want too much either, because later on when we cook them, we're gonna add a little bit more. On the recipe I'm giving, it says to mix all the eggs. So I'm gonna break an egg. We're gonna put 1 egg in here in the bowl, so 1 is in. And then I'm gonna do a second egg. Those are fresh eggs, fresh farm eggs that I'm using. And then I'm using 1 yolk. So it's 2 whole eggs and 1 yolk. So the yolk, I'm gonna separate it here. Just open it, and then here, separate it, the white from the yolk. Here we're only gonna use the yolk to add it in. Here we go. Yeah, so I have that ready. Now here I have the sour cream. So the reason why I'm adding sour cream is that it makes them fluffy. We're gonna poach them in the water, and then we're gonna shock them in ice water. Once we shock them in ice water, we're gonna dry them in a lined pan with absorbing paper or a kitchen towel. That's what the sour cream does to them. It makes them nice and fluffy, basically. So that's what's interesting in the spätzle when you do it. See, I'm gonna put that in. Everything is in here. Now I'm gonna take water that I measured. So I'll do exactly the recipe as you have it. So that's the water, and I'm gonna add the water in here. That's all. Yes, that's just room temperature. When you do something like this, when you do a batter, a dough, anything, the idea is always, even if the eggs are stored in a fridge, the idea is to take them out a little bit earlier so that everything gets up to room temp. And that way, when you do your dough in your batters, you have the right texture and the right. A lot of times, when the elements are too cold, especially when you work with yeasts, it becomes problematic. So you want everything to be at room temperature. And here I mix everything together. This makes it actually easier. This is a way of making the spätzle easier to mix. You have also some people that are doing that, and they just take the flour and they crack the eggs in the flour. They put everything that I just put in here, they put it right in the flour. You can do that as well. It's a little, it becomes a little bit, it becomes hard if you're not used to it, because if you don't go fast enough, suddenly you have a lot of lumps. So what I'm going to add, my liquid, my mix, I'm going to add it inside the flour now.
Okay.
I'm going to add it in. So I have everything here. So I'm going to take, look what I'm going to take, a very old fashioned wooden spoon.
Nice.
And we're gonna mix it. Yeah, this is now a little bit. Here's the exercise. It's to get thick, and then you start. And here we go. And now we're gonna work it for a couple minutes, because what we want to do is activate the gluten. Actually, we want this dough, this batter, to become sticky. Flour is a big factor in that.
Okay.
So here we're looking at that. See.
Wow.
And it's very, very, very yellow because of those very, very good farm eggs. You can even do the kind of like Spätzle style mac and cheese. That's something that you guys can do.
Ooh.
It's actually fun. It's actually fun. I did it. And then it works very nice with any stew, with any cocoa vin, things like that. It's beautiful with it. Yeah, here we go. See, this is what we're looking at. Now we have that, and we need the boiling water. So the boiling water, it doesn't need to be a very crazy boiling boil. What it needs to, it's really a nice simmer. Here, this is my wooden board. It even says Spätzlebread. That's really, really special for that, actually, in that region. So not many people do it that way anymore, okay? Not many people. A lot of people are just buying them finished. You can actually buy them in the region dry, just like dry pasta, almost like fettuccine, but they dried in a bag. You know, same idea. It's a pasta. So people who really still cook at home, they will make it themselves. And then you have also the machines to make them. And I'm going to show you one of those machines, but they come out slightly different. You can find those. You can find them on Amazon, actually. So you have that. It's basically.
Oh, wow.
It has holes in it.
And
then you have that little thing that fits right on it. So you fill it up with the batter, and then you just go back and forth on it, and it folds down, and you do Spätzle that way. Slightly different looking,
right?
But it's still a Spätzle. So now what I'm going to show you is really what people are usually the most interested in, the very old-fashioned way. So now I'm going to do this. Whoever is trying to do that, it takes some practice, okay? So here we go. we're gonna put this on the wooden board. And what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna take my spatula, I'm gonna dip it in the hot water, and now I'm gonna spread the dough out. Look at that. See, this is what we're trying to do now. Always a little bit. See, we're gonna spread it out. And here you can do as you wish. Now, when I was an apprentice in Alsace, in that region, as an apprentice, they give you Spätzle to make, and in those days we were making them like that. And then people you do kind of like a competition. It's like who's going faster than the other, And see, now I'm gonna go slowly. I'm just gonna push them off, and they fall in. See, they fall in. See, and they just go in, just like that. You can make them, and that's the nice thing is that literally none is exactly the same. You can see that it's handmade. Right. None is the same. Let me just fix my heat. It's a little bit too hot here. Now I can show you. Let me show you a couple already. See, look, here I have a couple already. Look, see, this is now one Spätzle. It almost looks like a nice handmade pasta. So put it in cold water, have ice water here next to it. So we do this in batches, basically, you see. So here we go. So I'm gonna do, here we go, see. So to do the whole thing, it takes quite some time. What I will suggest is try to make everything. And the Spätzle, you can keep them 2 or 3 days in the fridge or in a container. with on a towel or something that keeps them dry and nicely covered, and you can keep them for 2 or 3 days like that. The butter, if you wanna freeze it, yeah, you can freeze it as well. You can do a good amount of butter and then put it in pints and just freeze it. That's all possible. Yes. Then once they float, they usually poached enough. They cooked basically, and then what we do is mix them one time and then I take them out. See, I have them here. Look at that. And I'm gonna put them in the cold water and 2 more batches like this, and then I'm gonna put them in. Then I'm gonna take some out and put them dry. See, this is the dough. The batter is nice if you do the batter a little bit early and then you let it rest a little bit. If you let it rest a little bit, the batter also is easier to handle because it's less like every dough. When the gluten is activated, it becomes sticky and it like elasticity. It goes back. You know what I mean? So you can just go and put porcini, dried porcini, and you blend them and you make a powder and you add it in. Suddenly you have spätzle, porcini spätzle actually, and then you can also go with chive. You can do chive. You can put chive in there, just chive juice, or chive replace the sour cream with chive oil same day.
Okay.
Here we go. See?
So the ones in the ice bath, are you taking them out after a couple of minutes, or are you just keeping everything?
Yes. Now I'm going to take them out. Look, okay. I'm going to take them out. I'm going to mix them. I want to make sure that they're cold at the core. They just need to be in the ice water until they're cold at the core. And then I take them out. You can take your hands, or you can take, you see, here we are. Here they are.
Right.
Or I can take here the spider again. See, and you want to kind of dry them. So you want to do this in small layers so that they dry. It's important that you dry them properly. It's also what's good to do right now, because we just made a couple. As you do a bigger batch, they become a little bit more, the water becomes kind of milky because of the flour and the gluten. So what you need to do, just like every pasta, when you cook them, you want to kind of rinse them off quickly. See, they're beautiful. Look at, you wanna see, some are big, some are, look at this, see, each one is slightly different. See, they're very long. Suddenly we're just gonna here put it on the top and dry them a little more.
Okay.
See, so you can picture this. You don't do this. This is that process. When you do that process at home, you don't want to do this just before you plan dinner. You want to do this maybe the day before or a couple hours before, and just have them like this in the fridge, and then later on roast them in the pan. If you have them in the fridge and they stick to each other, one good way of separating them is just rinsing them under water. Add a little water, rinsing them, and they usually go away. But if the rinsing has been done properly, they usually don't stick. Okay. Another trick that is interesting is if you have them like this, and I can take them out take the paper off now here. Yeah, if I take the paper off here, then what I can do, I can show you actually. Here, I take them off. See, this is all water. I don't want the water.
Oh, okay.
See, so this is all, this is all water. So we take it away. And now what I can do is take grapeseed oil. Why I use grapeseed oil? It's because it doesn't congeal in the fridge. It stays liquid. The grapeseed oil in the fridge, it doesn't get hard. So what I do, if you don't want them to stick at all, and you want to make sure, you put a little bit grapeseed oil, just like that, and then you mix them up with your hands, just like this, and then you put them away. Just coat them with a little bit, because later on you're going to saute them in a pan. So you use a little less then. And now here, see, that's it. And I rarely use butter alone. I like to mix butter and oil together, and a mix of butter and oil, but always good oils. I only use olive oil, grapeseed oil, avocado oil, very healthy oils. So I wanna, and then when I mix butter and oil together, the oil kind of controls the cooking of the butter. The butter doesn't burn as fast. And the butter also tells me when the pan is hot, because it becomes frothy, and then suddenly it becomes hot. How fast it goes. So now I'm gonna put some in here. See? Can you hear it? I usually, so now I'm gonna start a little bit salt. Here, see, it's starting already to have color. If you cook and you have an oven on, at this point I have them here. It's good to pop them inside the oven for 3-4 minutes. You look, they start to take color. That's really, and then believe it or not, we used to eat them when we did sauerkraut, in the days where we did sauerkraut at home, and there was sauerkraut left over. So what we did is have spätzle and sauerkraut. Use the sauerkraut and cook the sauerkraut in a pan, caramelize it, and then add the spätzle in and saute everything together. And that was then a meal basically, finished with a little bit vinegar at the end. So here we go, see, and then that's a beautiful serving dish. This is a steelite dish, actually. It's a beautiful dish. And here you see that fits very well what it is, and you can put the nice garnish with it, meat, stew, whatever people might wanna do. A little bit nutmeg. See, I'm gonna finish it with slightly a little bit nutmeg on the top here, like that. I have like live scallops here, dry scallops. Now it's very, very important for that dish that it's prime seafood. It needs to be the best you can get. Same with the tuna. I have beautiful tuna here that I got from my fish. Still look at this piece. So it's beautiful tuna. So we're gonna use that. Very simple flavors. I'm gonna put that back on ice. In that recipe, we have balsamic vinegar, and in the recipe it says sugar and vinegar. So the reason I'm doing this is because in order to get it to the right consistency, beautiful balsamic vinegar, it needs to be 50, 60-year-old balsamic vinegar, the real deal. And that's actually very, very hard to find on the market. And for Saba is like the most of the balsamic vinegar, and it tends to be nice and syrupy and thick. But if you don't have that, then just take a very good balsamic vinegar that is on the market, and with a little bit sugar, and I put it in, and then bring it to a boil, and basically simmer it for a couple minutes. Now, when you do this, it's not much, you see, it's not much in the pan. When you do this, you have to really, really pay attention, because it is already dark. So it burns quickly. So that's one thing. I made a little bit ahead here, and I have it. I can show you. See, I have it here in my little bottle. So if you do it now at home, just make sure it takes about 3 or 4 minutes. If a bubble comes, just let it go for 2 minutes and take it off, and then cool it off. And if you see that it's nice and syrupy, stop. If not, go back on the fire a little bit. If you reduce it, you can actually keep it it's a vinegar. It doesn't get bad. If you store it the proper way, if you store it in a fridge, it gets very thick. But if you store it in a pantry, you can keep this for just like the vinegar. The cucumbers, I use Persian cucumbers, so each of them are slightly different size. But when I slice them on a mandolin, I try to keep them stacked up so that when I use them on the plate, it kind of follows, it follows each other.
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do here, it's just like, see, I cut a piece off and then slice them. See, here we go. Are quite a different size. So the reason we keep them together so that each plate, you can make nice plates and they follow each other. So here's the scallops and the tuna in dices. So when you do that, slice the tuna. It's nice. Look at that. See? Show to this camera. It's about, half an inch, quarter inch to half an inch scallops. When you buy scallops for a tartare, there is no smell to it. So I have that. Those are the elements. Then I have caviar. Today we're using Ment'or caviar, basically. It's the Ossetra caviar. That's a beautiful caviar. I'm going to use that. Basically, the tartare is basically seasoned with caviar. I'm going to start to do. And then I have lemon juice. I have lemon juice that we're going to use fresh. I have chive oil. So chive oil, the way we make chive oil is leftovers of chives. We chop them down a little bit, mix it in a blender with grapeseed oil, always grapeseed oil. This has been in the fridge and it's liquid. So always grapeseed oil, and then we put it all together in a pot and just bring it up to temperature. We just warm, not hot, just warm, and we let it steep a little bit, and we get a beautiful extraction of chives, and it's nice and green. And I'm going to do the plate. If you decide to do one of that dish ahead, so that can be all prepared. This needs to be cool on ice. But one thing that can be prepared ahead is basically the layout of the cucumbers. So what I'm doing here is take my cucumbers that I have sliced on the mandolin, and I'm gonna put 2 rows on my plate. About 6, 7, sometimes 8, depending on the size, depending how many courses you decide to cook. That's how you adapt the size of a portion. Okay. Depending how many courses you try to eat. If it's just 2 courses, then you make it bigger. If it's more like a tasting style, then you make it smaller. It's all adapted to what you're trying to do. 2, 4, 6, 7. 2, 4, 6, and here we have 7. So see, and then that's the bed. That's basically like a little bed here. And now what we're gonna do, if you do this, a lot of times I'm gonna show you a little trick. There is a little rim. There's a little rim under the plates. I'll show you here as well. There is a little rim under the plate. If you stack them on top of each other, it doesn't touch. You can put a little piece of paper as well. You can do 5, 6 ahead like that. Put them in the refrigerator. And that way, when your tartare is ready, you take them off the refrigerator and then you flatten them out. You don't already, that is done. That's mise en place. That's called that's mise en place. That's something that can be done ahead. So what I do now here, see, when I have this, then we're going to season that. So usually what I have olive oil here. So we're going to put a little bit olive oil here. And then we take, you to put a glove on, and you move it, put with the glove on. And you move it like that, and you season it basically. Or you take a little brush, but it's better to do it with a glove on. And that way you have control, you don't displace everything. And then we put a little bit salt on it. I'm putting the oil first and then the salt. The reason I'm putting the oil first is that I don't want I want to keep the integrity of the cucumber. I want to keep the crunch. I don't want the cucumber to get soft. I don't want the cucumber to render water. So I put the oil and then the salt on the top. So
The idea is to, when we eat the dish, that everything is seasoned. Every single element that is on the plate is seasoned. So that's my plate is ready here, see? So now I'm ready to season my tuna. So I'm gonna put this in the bag. Tuna. I have to open the caviar. And we're using grapeseed. On that dish, I have grapes. Look at this caviar. Look at that caviar. That's not beautiful. So I'm going to keep it on ice. I have an ice bucket here, so I'm going to make sure that we have it beautiful. So here I'm just going to do one salad, one tartare. Okay, it's equal amount tuna, equal amount scallops. You see, here we go. Now that's an expensive dish, so you want to make sure that whatever you do it the right way, and you don't do more than you can eat. Here we go, equal amount. And now I'm gonna add rapeseed oil. So same here. I'm not gonna do any seasoning right now. I have grapeseed oil. I have hazelnut oil. Just the hazelnut oil is complementing very, very nicely the caviar. And then I have a little bit olive oil. Always a little bit. You have 3 different oils here. I'm going to coat, just mix it, you see, and it's going to get coated with the oils. So when we season it with salt and pepper, we don't touch at the integrity of the flavor. We don't touch at the integrity of the product. So chives, I have some chives here. So now I'm going to add chives. Chopped chives, add it in. Not too much. And then I'm going to add caviar. So caviar, we're going to add a nice amount. I'm going to add it in two or three lumps like this. Here we go. And now I'm going to add a little bit more oil just on top of the caviar, so that when I separate it, the grains are separating. So now what we're doing is just go left a little bit, stir it a little bit.
Okay.
And now we're going to go like just not
gently,
not breaking anything, just move it. Now, by the way, if you do this for 5-6 people, you want to put this on ice. That should be on ice. So now I'm going to season it. Salt and pepper. So I'm not going to add too much salt because I have the caviar. The caviar is salty.
A lot of salt.
So a little bit salt. And now pepper. Sugar. That's it. And now I'm going to mix it one more time, very carefully. And then we're going to taste it. Well, so here now I'm going to taste it with a little spoon that I have here. See what's missing. Wow, it's really nice actually. I'm going to add this little bit salt, and that's it. Little bit more chives, not more than that. You want to see the chives and the caviar. The chive is allium, so you have almost like a very elegant allium in there. And then we have the caviar that is briny, and then we have the sweetness of the scallop and the bite of the tuna. It's a really great dish. So now I'm going to add the lemon juice. The reason I'm putting the lemon juice completely at the end, if you mix the lemon juice, if you overmix the lemon juice within the dish, the whole dish tends to become white, milky. I call it milky. because certainly you're making an emulsion. So here I'm gonna, when we do lemon juice, we always try to have, always fresh lemon juice. We don't squeeze lemons and put it on a line. Lemon juice squeezed and let outside suddenly starts to smell differently. It starts to ferment. To prevent fermentation, we do it completely fresh. You just press it out from a piece of lemon like this. And now I'm going to put lemon, just a little bit lemon like that. I'm going to turn it 3-4 times. And that's it. It's just the seasoning. What I'm doing is putting this in the center. I'm going to make it look basically almost like a fish. See?
Pretty.
You just put them together like that in order to make it. So try to have it nicely mixed. Little of everything here. And then the caviar. You can put a little more. So here again, depending on what's your plan for dinner, for how many courses you're eating. Believe it or not, when I had that on the menu many times, people once they knew what it was, coming in and say, can I have a double order on the same day, on the same plate? So it happened a lot. I've done in a kitchen, nothing gets lost normally. That's what's about. And there is always a way of using a leftover, a byproduct of chives. You make chive oil. It's all about that. And we have many ways of using it. And you can also use. So that is literally the dish. And now I have my look. This is how we finish it. I have a ruler. A ruler. I have my balsamic vinegar that is reduced. And then I have my chive oil that I had earlier. So what we do to finish it, to present it, and that's adding presentation and a layer of complexity when you eat it. So here see. So now what we're going to do is take the ruler and make 2 straight lines on each. You see it, yeah? On each side, we're going to do a line of balsamic. And then turn it. And here we go. We're going to do another one. So here we have the second. And now I'm taking the chive oil and going to next to that, I'm going to do a little bit chive oil, the same length. So we have that. We have those colors, beautiful colors coming together.
I love the brightness of that.
I do the balsamic vinegar first and then the oil on the outside so that a plate usually is not flat. It's kind of like so that the oil doesn't run quite that fast away. And now the garnish, what we're putting as a garnish, it's either we use red vein sorrel or we use those sunflowers, and the other one are borage. Those are borage leaves, which is beautiful with that because the borage flower tastes actually like an oyster. I don't know if you're familiar with, but if you find borage in the summertime, they're beautiful blue flowers. If you eat them, it just tastes like an oyster. And that's kind of like perfect for that kind of dish. Depending on what you find on the market, same thing again. There is not just one thing that can be used. So we can go with that. So see, and then we put it, you can put one, you can put two of those. The idea when I did that dish was to kind of like do something that like mimics a little bit a fish tail, you know. And you put it in the bag like that. And that's the way we serve it to the guests.
Great.
So that's the tartare here now.
Oh my
Of
gosh.
scallops,
Beautiful.
Ivar scallops and tuna seasoned with caviar, cucumbers, chive oil,